Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have a truly historic panel here today. Let me first introduce the Prime Minister of Libya, Mahmoud Jibril. We're so pleased to have you here today. It's a heartfelt, good feeling in the audience. Prime Minister designate Al-Khasawneh of Jordan, thank you for coming. And thank you for also coming here and sharing with us at such an early stage your agenda. Minister Ahmed Hassan Boraei from Egypt, Minister of Manpower, heartfelt welcome to you, Minister. Ibrahim as Dabdoub, Group Chief Executive Officer, National Bank of Kuwait. Elizabeth Littlefield, President, Overseas Private Investment Corporation, United States of America. And Maurice, Lévy, he is Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Publicis Groupe of France, but also Foundation Board Member of the World Economic Forum. Welcome. The Arab world is experiencing a historic transformation, which also has significant economic and financial consequences. The recent shifts in the Arab world, coupled with economic contraction at a global level, have created a new urgency for decision makers to address fundamental conditions required to revive economic growth and support human development. The question we are taking a tough look at this opening plenary is, how can the region deliver growth and jobs in light of global economic uncertainty and high public expectations in the region? Let me first turn to Mr. Jibril, Prime Minister of Libya. How does it feel? What will it take to rebuild and renew Libya?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me this morning. It's really a pleasure. Well, what I feel, I can just summarize relieved and reborn again, as simple as that. But what it takes to rebuild Libya, it's not an easy task. It's a mission impossible of Tom Cruise, Let me try to just pin down some points, The first essential step, which is the most immediate step, is to restore stability and order in the country, and that requires collecting those arms in the streets. And the second one is to initiate a reconciliation process. If we manage to do those two things, this might add up to a national unity. Without that, we cannot do anything. This is the first task. The second task is to have a clear vision, the core of which is to replace oil with another source of national income. Our oil is depleting fast. We consumed about 62 of our reserves. Therefore, we still have about 38% of our oil. If we are smart enough, we try to seize this opportunity, and it's not unlimited opportunity. It's very, very limited opportunity, which might not last over 20 years from now, This is a very squeezed time. We should use it properly to rebuild an alternate economy as fast as possible.
Thank you. And you're also seeing different armed groups in Libya. How fast will the disarmament happen, and how fast do you think things will be back to a more normal situation in Libya, and when do you expect the first elections?
Well, according to what we call the constitutional declaration, the first election after the liberation of the country, which should take place today, should be within a period of 8 months maximum. First election to constitute what we call the National Congress of Libya. That's some sort of parliament, This National Congress is entitled with 2 tasks. The first one, to draft a constitution over which we should have a referendum. And the second task is to form the interim government, which should last till the first presidential elections are held. Regarding the other questions, how fast we can collect those arms from the streets, it's not an easy question to answer, simply because these groups are so complex, they are from different parts of the country. They are all took part of the liberation of the country. They are from all parts of the country. So I think it depends on 2 things. First, what kind of resolve the TNC is going to show in the next few days. And the other thing is depending mainly on the Libyan people themselves, whether they're going to differentiate between the past or the future or not, I'm counting on the Libyan people that they're going to look ahead and remember what kind of agony they went through during the last 40 years,
Could I also ask you personally, how have the 24 last hours been for you?
Well, first of all, I didn't think that I would live to see this day, So I would gracefully thank God for that, It was a great moment, I think it's the moment of my life.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you... And we appreciate so much that you're here with us. Prime Minister-designate Khasawneh, would you share with us your economic agenda against a backdrop of quite difficult global economic situation?
I would, of course, but before that, let me say that, strictly speaking, I should not be here. I am still a private citizen trying to form a government. In other words, in the last stages of trying to overthrow the constitutional government of the country. So, but there is a more important reason why I shouldn't be here.
That's why we're extra pleased to have you here.
Thank you very much. And that is, I make no claims whatsoever to being an economic expert. Until very recently, I was reveling in the use of archaic language, often interspersed with Latin phrases, meant most often to impress the less erudite. And now, coming down to the Dead Sea, I found that I had to familiarize myself with acronyms I hadn't heard of before. And this is, I say all of this as a prelude to confessing that I am here mostly to learn and to listen. I just couldn't resist the temptation of seeing so many luminaries here without trying to come and try to benefit from this assembled wisdom in this place. But since you asked me to offer my vision, I think that it is based on the fact that political and economic reform go hand in hand. You cannot be a liberal in economics and a conservative in politics. It doesn't always work. There are cases of that I wouldn't want to mention specifically, but by and large, I think that political reform is very important. And this is why the government, once assembled, will start by trying to enact through Parliament a bundle of laws meant to hasten the pace of constitutional reform, laws relating to the election process, to the newly established constitutional court, and to other laws on the basis of which we hope that both political and economic reform is going to be based. Let me assure you, though, that my lack of knowledge of economic matters, which goes back to my youth when I first realized that economics is increasingly becoming econometrics, and that is a discipline that I really found completely above my head, that there are people better familiar with this who will be included in the ministerial, in the new government. We are trying to assemble some of the best brains in the country to deal with the economic crisis, or rather with economic reform. My second comment, and please excuse me for my naivety, is that economic reform is not an instantaneous one, partly because it is so by nature, and partly because of the accumulation over the years of so many factors that need to be corrected. Some say that the problems that Jordan faces can be defined as, or can be solved through financial control and financial reform, and there is a lot of truth and wisdom in that. I think it's more complex than that. So we are at the very start of this process. I will try to answer specific questions, but I really don't think, also because the government hasn't been formed yet, I wouldn't want to take specific decisions or commitments. I think I owe it to my colleagues as a professional commitment, as a matter of respect for them, not to say things that with which they might probably are likely to disagree. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister Designate. And as we all know, the Prime Minister has been a distinguished judge and deputy at the International Court of Justice in Hague for a decade. So it's good with humbleness, but we know that you have, Mr. Prime Minister Designate, the right background for also, as you yourself said, there are political reforms has to be followed also with economical reforms. It's not possible to decouple this. But of course, it is probably for you then as a Prime Minister Designate also a challenge that there are high expectations also in Jordan, as we're seeing generally in the Arab world, but the international picture with also contraction and Euro crisis and the fiscal crisis in the US probably make this more difficult. And is it possible to explain these to the voters in the Arab world about patience and that is not built in a day?
I think that it is necessary, at least, to try to explain it. I think people, ordinary people, are much more sensible than we think they are. If things are explained to them, I think they will understand. More importantly, I mean, we can't tell them, and people here in this world that is shrinking all the time, they know that the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the UK and foreign powers are occupying themselves with solving those crises. More importantly, I think that the best way to explain things to them is through deeds and not words. If government officials start to behave as though we are in a crisis that spans the whole universe, I think that will have much more effect on ordinary people than explaining the dilemma of a contracting world economy and high expectations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Littlefield, we have heard here the Prime Minister of Libya and also the Prime Minister designate of Jordan having great aspirations for their country. The US has traditionally played a major role in this region, also when it comes to development. What role do you see for your country and for your administration with the current fiscal constraints that your country is also having?
Well, thank you very much, and it's certainly an honor to be sharing the stage with such gentlemen today. I think the size and the seniority of the delegation that is here at this special meeting from the US, from Washington, is testament to just how important this region is to this administration, and certainly how important the changes that are sweeping through it, the democratizing changes are, and how much support the administration wants to give to that. Both Professor Schwab and His Majesty spoke about new models and new ways of doing business in their opening address. And President Obama also, about a year ago, announced at the UN the first ever US global development policy, a brand new way of thinking about development, which he unveiled at the UN a year ago. And this new global development policy really lays out a vision that development now has to be not just about poverty alleviation and assistance any longer, but about attainment of prosperity and about using all of the tools at our disposal, whether they be commercial tools, investment, or trade, to really underpin our development policies. You know, and that's exactly right, because over the last 40 years or so, we've seen ODA from the US flipping with foreign direct investment. Overseas development assistance 40 years ago was 70% of the flows of dollars coming from the US to emerging markets, and now it's 80% of the flows of money coming from the US to emerging markets is foreign direct investment. And that's exactly what we're hearing companies and countries throughout the region asking for from us. They're not as interested, most of them, in aid or money. They're interested in connections. They're interested in partnerships. They're interested in intellectual idea sharing and partnerships of a business nature. So this is what the companies want, and this is what the youth seem to want. So, and this is exactly what, it's a mutual partnership and business relationship that they're looking for.
But when you interact with these companies, when they are considering to invest or not to invest, what are the main issues they're raising with you when it comes to investing in the Arab world? Well,
I'd say companies across the board are very, very excited about the region. Of course, many US companies are already invested here. The new ones that are thinking about it because of all the events of the last 6 months are excited, and they're very interested. But you know, they have a lot of the same questions and issues that the young people do. Beyond the issues of political stability and security, their questions really are, is this economy open to me? Is it a level playing field? Or am I ever going to be able to navigate the complex rules and regulations which seem opaque and confusing and ever-changing and expensive to navigate? So those are the kind of questions that they're asking themselves. But
are governance issues?
Are governance issues
raised?
Yes, I mean the corruption word comes up a lot, and that this corruption word, which at the World Bank we used to call the C word, is a question that companies ask themselves when they first arrive and look at whether they can engage in these regions. But we're very optimistic, because I think all these issues, we see governments throughout the region addressing them. The Doing Business report from the World Bank shows real progress of governments across the region improving the business climate, and they see real results when they do focus on improving the business climate. So we're very optimistic that the talent of the young people and the rest of the region, the resources, the proximity to Europe, are all things that will drive business clearly and U.S. investment to the region in the next couple of years.
Thank you. Mr. Dabdoub, you're one of the most seasoned economic and business leaders of the region, coming also from Kuwait. And the Gulf countries are in a fortunate situation where fiscal stability is something of a trademark. But looking at the countries in the Arab world being in transition and also rebuilding, what role can you see for the Gulf countries in supporting the transition countries in the Arab world?
But let me give you first a background to the present situation, to the present global situation as it is now. My colleagues used to call me Dr. Doom and Gloom until the 15th of September 2008, when the world stopped in the United States because of the Lehman crash. And then we will still have the global financial crisis up till now. What I mean is that the Europeans will not be able to help us as far as Arab world is concerned. They will probably be able to advise you how to make a mess out of your finances. The United States cannot definitely help you, because again they would with all, especially now with all the political bickering between the two parties, and again they would advise you how to make a mess of your deficits and so on. So you will have to depend on your Arab partners. And to me, I have always called for an Arab Marshall Plan that will be very restricted with conditions and with prerequisites that call for the development of the economies of the Arab world. The format would be a combination of the IMF and the World Bank together, with, as I said, with preconditions. And I think this will be the only formula that would work in the underdeveloped countries, especially the non-oil countries. We have many problems, like His Majesty King Abdullah said. We have to create 85 million jobs in the next 10 years or so. We have to be able to manage to live with the mismanagement of the global crisis, and the finances are becoming less and less. So we will have basically to depend on the oil exporting countries, on the sovereign wealth funds, and to create, as I said, an Arab Marshall Fund.
As a part of an Arab Marshall Plan, is it a paradox that you have an African Development Bank and you have an Asian Development Bank, you have a Latin America Development Bank, but not an Arabic Development Bank? Do you think it will happen fast, that we will have such a bank?
It's different from the African Development Bank, and we even have the Arab Fund for Development, based in Kuwait too. But what I'm talking about is a total Marshall Plan, a combination of IMF and World Bank together, so that we will have emergency financing and we will have development financing at the same time, depending, of course, on the conditions, making sure that the countries, the receiving countries, really abide by the laws and regulations.
Maurice, Lévy, CEO and chairman of a large global company. Looking at the Arab world and when you're allocating your investments, what does it take of structural reforms to make sure that there will be more investments here that again will yield more jobs and economic growth.
With your permission, I will maybe say two other words before answering your question.
As a true politician, you...
Thank you. I would like first to say that I'm very happy to be here again. I was here in 2005, and it was a great moment of emotion, because there was the hope of peace in the region, and there has been in this room, in this very room, 40 Israelis and 40 Palestinians who have been working together during more than a year to develop a peace program. And I'm sad to see that this has not yet happened, but I'm very pleased to be here and to see that in other regions of the world and very close to us, we see the emergence of democracy. And if we have from the French side missed Tunisia, we have not missed Libya. And we are very pleased with what's happening in Libya, and we are behind you and supporting you. Regarding now the question, so I'm not escaping from the question. Regarding the question, I think that His Majesty the King has said it all. There will not be a transformation of the political system if there is not at the same time a transformation of the economic system. And we should not believe that just this conference will solve the problem of job creation. It will probably lay a little bit of ground in order to build on this, but what we need, because we are in a tough competition, this has been pointed out very clearly. The US are struggling to create jobs. Europe is struggling not only to create jobs, but to get out of the mud in which we are with our financial system, and to get the CEOs of the large corporation to come over and to create jobs here. There is a need for 4 or 5 key steps. The first one, clearly, is governance. Today, we don't feel, and when I say we, even the people who are already implemented in the region as we are, and we have more than 1,000 people in the region, we don't feel secure about our investment, and we are not sure that we have the rules of law which are helping us to be accountable to our stockholders and to be accountable also to all the stakeholders. The second aspect is obviously about transparency. This has been pointed out already. We know that there is a very large issue, and we need to have a structural reform in order that transparency is part of the basic element in order to bring in the investors. One obvious aspect is education. I know that a lot of efforts have been done in the past, and the effort, whatever they have been so far, are not sufficient. We need talent. We need a workforce which is educated in order that this workforce and the region can rely on itself for the best of the economy. We should not be only a manufacturing part for the rest of the world. If we want in this region to create positive jobs which are creating value, we need to have innovation, we need to have R&D, and the key for that is education. The 3 key elements again, a good governance, a good level playing field, a good transparency, which is absolutely indispensable, and if we want to build the future, we have to start with education. If we have this together, you will see that the investors of the world will come because this region is buoyant. There is oil. There is what is the most important aspect, a youth population, which is missing in Japan, and which is missing in Europe, which is missing in the developed markets. So this is really an area of growth, and I have personally a lot of hopes, provided that politicians decide to make the reforms.
Thank you, Mr. Lévy. You're saying that the demography of the region can in fact be an edge if it's well managed. We are also very pleased, Minister Boraei, Minister from Egypt, responsible for employment and manpower. I think it is just the right time to introduce you, sir. How will the region manage 3 million young people entering the workforce every year in the 20 coming years? And what is your plan and agenda as a Minister of Manpower when it comes to this in Egypt?
Allow me to thank you for the question. And before answering, I would like to make 3 remarks. My first remark is to extend deep felt congratulations to the fraternal people of Libya for the developments that took place day before yesterday when they were able to finalize the liberation of all the territories of Libya, and to greet my brother and friend, Dr. Mahmoud Jibril, who hosted my visit in his office with the foreign minister of Egypt. And we discussed this coming day. I'm very pleased, and the Egyptian people are very pleased for this day, and communication extends between Egypt and Libya and Tunisia, all the people seeking to aspire democracy and social justice. My second observation, I would like to take this opportunity, the opportunity of the presence of my brother and friend, Ambassador Nabil Al-Arabi, Secretary General of the League of Arab States, to ask him to support the proposal made by Mr. Dabdoub from Kuwait to include in the agenda of the Arab League a Marshall Plan for the Arab region, because we are in greatest need of such a plan at the current period. The third point I would like to make, which is in response to the question, I will say my reply might not be up to the level required, because I'm not a minister of economy, I'm a minister of labor. And the matter is related to economy, as we can witness in the title of this session. How can the economy provide the context for creating new job opportunities? I do not want to step back here, but if we are to take the Egyptian example, we will see that the transformation from a centralized economy, I will not describe it as socialist, I will say centralized, to a free economic system, meant that appointments in government posts was halted, and then we had a greater number of unemployed in Egypt, particularly as private investments were not able to create sufficient job opportunities to absorb the new additions to the labor market at an annual pace. Economic development was 6.7% in Egypt in recent years. This is a good rate, but the problem was not in this rate. It was in the fairness or equity of distribution. In brief, Egypt was in need from the year 1980 to 1990 to 450,000 job opportunities. This went up to 540,000 from 1990 to the year 2000, and now 750,000 job opportunities up till 2010. And now we stand at a need annually and until 2020 of 950,000 job opportunities annually. Unemployment rates, according to non-confirmed statistics, give between 12% to 17% of the labor force are unemployed. Conditions in Egypt, and as we're speaking of the Arab world, I will say conditions in Egypt are not very different than what exists in the Arab world. The Arab world, by the year 2020, will find 100 million young people who are unemployed in its population. And this is why I support the proposal made by Mr. Dabdoub. I would like to say that currently the Arab world as a whole, whether those countries that have high rates of unemployment or others that do not have such high rates, are all in danger of losing social justice. The Arab world, as it's moving towards democracy, should have as a priority the achievement of social justice. Otherwise, the Arab Spring may turn into an Arab autumn, and this is not what we aspire to. The conventional methods to address unemployment problems, SMEs, national programs, general employment projects will not meet the need and will not be able in the near future to secure social conditions in Arab countries and will not build social equity. Now, before all the Arabs, and not only Egypt, what is needed is major, great projects that need inter-Arab financing. And we are well aware that in the current period, we cannot depend as we used to on the US or on Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Madam Littlefield, you heard Mr. Dabdoub launch this idea of a Marshall Plan for the Arab world, supported also by the Egyptian minister. We're coming back to the two prime ministers. Would you see a role for the US in the second Marshall Plan, but this time for the Arab world?
You mentioned earlier the budget constraints that the U.S. is operating under right now, and I think the rightful redirection of our support for the region towards the very powerful contribution that business can make. So I would say that going forward, it's been clear that the emphasis of the administration has been on trade and investment and what business communities can do. That was why Secretary Clinton, when she visited Egypt, I was proud to have been with her, announced that my organization, OPIC, which is the U.S. government's development finance institution, would be providing $2 billion of financing to support private investment into the region broadly, to support through finance, through insurance, and other kinds of means of incentivizing investors to invest when they wouldn't invest otherwise. That's where the U.S. capital is going to go. Addition to that, President Obama announced an additional $1 billion for Egypt specifically, again, focused on how U.S. resources, through my organization and others, can be used to provide the financing, the insurance, the guarantees that will make money flow, many multiples of that billion, into infrastructure, into small and medium enterprises, and other job-creating areas. So I think you're going to see the focus really being around commercial ties and how resources can be used to generate many multiples of those resources in private investment.
Thank you. Prime Minister Jibril, I would like to have your reaction to this idea, notion of Arab Marshall Plan, but also if you could share with us how much of early recovery and rebuilding is necessary in Libya, so we can understand how much is really destroyed during these tough times of civil conflict.
Well, let me respond first to the first question. Marshall Plan is basically after is the case after World War II. It's based on how much money can be injected to Europe, to revive the European economy again. I don't think that the problem in the Arab world is a question of money. I think it's a question of management of money, It's not a question of the availability of money. The problem of the Arab world is that it's vertically integrated into the world economy. If we can look at the inter-Arab economy, it's still ranging between 7 to 10% the Arab trade, So I don't think, it's a question of mindset, it's a question of politics, the inter-Arab politics, and this is the overall frame which should decide the flow between Arab countries, looking for opportunities and projects. This should be set first, So we can talk after that about a Marshall Plan for the Pan-Arab relationship. I think for the Arab world, with the exception, I think, of Jordan and Tunisia, the question of the identity of the Arab economies is the problem. We have two types of economies. The first one, which I should call a rentier economy, in the oil-producing countries, where some sort of a welfare countries emerged, because of this oil wealth, The other economies such as Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Jordan, etc., etc., it's an economy based on you work for the money, The welfare countries, you ask for the money, you don't work for it, So there is a problem here. It's a mindset, how you transfer this mindset in to create people who can produce around the clock. This is the first thing. The second thing is to change the perception of globalization. Where is it going? What's the core of globalization? I think knowledge is the core, talent is the core. Where I would argue that there are three basic talents are needed, not only for the Arab world. The speed of knowledge today is beyond imagination. And just 2009, the world knowledge multiplies every 8 years. In 2025, it will multiply every 176 days. So whatever educational system is, the speed is very much at the core of everything. Power today as a concept has changed it drastically. Power today is one word, speed and mobility. No more than that. That's why we find small countries as Singapore, Israel, Ireland are doing a tremendous job, while the United States is suffering from deficit. So it's not those elephants, it's those mice who can move quickly and catch the opportunity as soon as possible, Therefore, three basic talents are needed, Management of complexity, management of diversity, and management of cross-cultural relationships, and management of flow of information. If we can manage to do these, more or less, because computers are all over the place. Just 10 years ago, we talk about ICT, we talk about as if it's the state of the art. It's not anymore, So the question of speed and how we catch, so we can pen down opportunities wherever they are and develop the talent to capitalize on those opportunities. Coming back to Libya, I think 2008 we finished a study called the Vision 2025 for Libya. The first thing is to position this country within the regional and world economic context, how to transfer the Libyan economy from a rentier economy into a service based on knowledge economy, But the type of knowledge, not the traditional sense where I mean, you have to have a new educational system compatible with those continuously changing developments in the world. You have to develop changing talents that are needed to build a new economy in Libya, replacing oil. Not only this, to capitalize on the opportunities rising from our location, from our position in the region, Africa, Europe, East, West, Libya is strategically located, we don't have to depend on oil anymore. Transit trade is there. We have beautiful shores, beautiful coast that stretches over 1,900 kilometers. We have deserts, where renewable energy are there, the energies of the future. So we have it all, but we have to have the mind first.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you. That was a silver lining, huh? A very short reply from Mr. Lévy, and then, of course, we will have the closing remarks from Prime Minister Designate Mr. Khasawneh.
Now, I just wanted to say that I can't agree more on what Prime Minister Jibril has said, because when you look at the transformation of our very own companies, speed is what is essential to transform the companies. And in today's world, and that the good news for the Arab world, is that speed can be acquired by the youth more easily than it can be acquired by the more mature people. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that the solution is not one. It's not only that you will have foreign company investing, it's not only that you will have to restructure, it's not only that you will have to accelerate the entrepreneurship of the youth. It is a combination, and if you expect to find one silver bullet which will transform the region, I'm afraid that the solution doesn't exist. It will be a combination of solutions, and I think many of the things which can be created are here and are available, starting with the money and the talent.
Thank you. First, Mr. Khasawneh, we are so pleased that you're even with us before you have had your first day as Prime Minister. I was just reflecting on the great challenge, because Jordan is a country without oil and gas and that kind of natural resources. When His Majesty called you and asked you to become the Prime Minister, you were a judge at the International Court. What kind of passion was it that drove you to take on this challenge?
Put simply, it was my feeling that the time to serve my country had come and could no longer be delayed. And ultimately, I had to make a choice. I think it was the only choice. I am, of course, in the same position of the Secretary General of the Arab League, my dear and distinguished friend Nabil al-Arabi. They used to say there is a time for love and there is a time for war, but I think there is a time for law and there is time for politics, and that has always been my career.
So thank you for sharing that. It was, as a former politician, I know how tough this can be. But the last question, when you heard this idea of creating an Arab Marshall Plan, but also combined with what your colleague, the Prime Minister of Libya, was mentioning, is change of mindset. Could you see a Marshall Plan helping in then enhancing economic growth, but but combined with managing expectations and a change of mindset. And how would you to make this happening?
Well, I would say that at first sight, the idea of a Marshall Plan cannot but be a beneficial thing to the region. I mean, we all know how crucial it had been for the recovery of Europe in the aftermath of the Second World War. But I also agree completely with Mr. Jibril that it is not important to get the money. The money is there. It's probably more important to manage the money. And this reinforces what I had said earlier, that reform cannot be solely on the economic side. It definitionally has to be at the political, the constitutional, and the legal side, and in creating traditions of openness and honesty and of fighting corruption. And I mean, at one point, most of the Arab region was almost totally free of corruption. I unfortunately cannot say that this is the case today, but there is no reason why it should not be in the future. I have really come on this is part of my learning process, and I've learned a lot listening to what the panelists have said. And I agree with a lot of what has already been said. I think the crucial point is that there is need for reform. There is need for reform, and this, I think, applies not only to Jordan, not only in economics, because you cannot simply divorce all these disciplines from each other, but throughout the different disciplines in politics and economics, in culture, perceptions of what should be done. That's really my initial reaction.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister Designate. I have to say that I think I talk on behalf of all the participants that here today, that we are so pleased that you all shared with us your views and your ambitions and aspirations for this great region, the Arab world. I also have to say that on behalf of the World Economic Forum, I'm so happy that we called a special meeting on economic growth and job creation in the Arab world. I'm sure that in the course of the 2 days, we're going to come up with real action points on how to make sure that we are able to revive the necessary growth in this region. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. Please be still seated. We will have now a special address from the Prime Minister of Qatar, His Excellency, when this panel is ending. But around 12:20, you will be then able to go to the other meetings. Again, thank you so much to the panel. Thank you.